In a Gold Coast hospital, an 80-year-old man is spending his last days without seeing one of his sons.
Heartbreaking doesn't even seem to suffice how it feels for us.
It's hard to watch him hang on and cling on to life just so he can see his son.
Mark KILIAN and his wife ANNELI are stuck in quarantine in a Sydney hotel room.
So let me just show you quickly. It's a king-size bed. Let me walk over here.
They're both fully vaccinated, but still have to wait 7 more days before they can leave. They flew in from Los Angeles in an attempt to see Mark's father, France, who was in a critical condition with pancreatic cancer.
It's up and down, and not just daily, but hourly. He's extremely weak. Is at this point sometimes not able to even talk to us.
Despite 3 successive negative COVID tests and an offer to charter their own flight to Queensland and wear hazmat suits, Queensland Health refused to grant Mark KILIAN and his wife an exemption to enter the Sunshine State.
Here we are offering to wear full PPE, to have anklets, anything that they ask, we will do.
They're willing to go over and above, and in every respect, they've done, taken every reasonable precaution, and still nothing. There's no, we don't understand why there's no solution.
This is amazing.
Mark KILIAN's brother Paul lives on the Gold Coast with his wife MARION. They're hoping an online petition will convince Queensland Health to change its mind.
We've gotten so much support. We're at over 40,000 signatures now. And I haven't seen a single comment that's come through that, is in support of what the government is doing.
For days, the Queensland government has been insisting the measures are essential for public safety. But today, the Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk suggested it's ultimately a federal responsibility.
It's absolutely tragic. These issues are tragic. Unfortunately, the national guidelines, so it's what's agreed to federally, is the 14 days of quarantine for people coming overseas. That applies to everybody.
Can you intervene in this case, though, will you?
Well, if the federal government wants to talk to both states, I'm happy to facilitate that, but this applies to everybody.
730 understands Queensland's Chief Health Officer, Dr Jeanette Young, has written to her federal counterpart asking for urgent clarification around quarantine rules for people who are fully vaccinated. Both the Queensland Premier and Dr Young were unavailable for interview, although Dr Young did briefly speak about vaccination policy at a media conference today.
Being fully vaccinated is really, really, really important. I cannot emphasise that enough, but it's not enough to stop transmission.
But the risks of someone coming in on an international flight and being COVID positive despite being fully vaccinated are relatively low.
It's incredibly unlikely. It's not impossible. It's not a zero risk, but it is so low that it should be a risk that we can manage by the normal sort of precautions you put in place.
The chair in epidemiology at Deakin University, Professor Catherine Bennett, believes the KILIAN case could be handled more humanely.
I think we've kind of lost the balance here. We're looking at situations with such a sense of zero tolerance or risk aversion that in fact we're potentially putting people at risk. In that case, potentially of COVID infection, but in these other cases, actually the incredible distress you're putting people through when in fact the changed circumstance and the ability to manage these individual cases very carefully should give us more options.
Do you accept that you do pose, or however small, some amount of risk to the people of Queensland?
Yes. I think that is probably a true statement for every single human being on this planet right now as it stands. And it seems to me that there is a bit of a lag between the public policy we're talking about here and the science, while the rest of the world is beginning to implement vaccination passports, vaccination travel, all these things. Dr. Young and her department is saying to us, that doesn't mean anything.
This is not the first time Queensland's hardline COVID stance has been under the spotlight. Earlier this month, Queensland Health prevented a fully vaccinated mother from seeing her premature newborn.
This is not just one case, and the rest of the world is watching us, and as Australians, we've always been there to look after each other.
End of life is often a traumatic time for friends and family. For the KILIANs, it's become something they'd never imagined.
It's nerve-wracking because every morning we try and call him, and if he doesn't answer the phone,
We panic.
we don't know if he is still alive.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.